What's going on, guys? J Flesh Tanks making a video talking about algae, how to control it, prevent it, not have it, whatever you want to say. But I've been getting a lot of personal emails asking me what I do for algae, and one of the questions I got was, do you use hydrogen peroxide on your plants? And I replied back, what do you mean? And they said that they had heard that you could spray it in a syringe directly into your tank, in the water column onto the plants to kill hair algae. And my response back to that was, why would you do that? I just wouldn't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. I mean, if you have that bad of a hair algae problem, guys, you have something else going on in your tank that needs to be addressed. Either your lighting is too bright and you have slow growing plants, or your lights are on too long, or your water flow isn't working, you're dosing too much, your CO2, something else is going on if you got that bad of a hair algae problem that you're willing to risk dumping peroxide in your tank. Now, I have seen people take plants out of a tank and dip them in hydrogen peroxide for BBA. Even that, I personally wouldn't do. One, I can get another plant. I mean, more than likely, you're going to find that plant again. Just go ahead and take that plant out, throw it in the garbage, and put a new plant in. BBA problem solved, without doing a bunch of extra steps that you don't need to deal with. So that's what I would do about BBA. I would not use peroxide or anything like that. Now, other algae like hair algae, I had a hair algae problem in this tank. As you can see, there's hardly any plants. My option was just to toss them all out, and that's what I did. But this was my fault. Didn't have a good enough water flow, left the lights on too long, so I bumped down the lighting on this tank. Didn't have enough fast-growing plants. I had hair grasses that weren't doing good in Pogostemon erectus. That plant was covered in hair algae, so I just threw it away. And then did a real good cleaning, and I probably should have bumped up my watering schedule. But the reason I haven't on this tank is these guys right here. Let it focus. They're, whatever. They're a guppy. But I'm selectively breeding those males to put in a show tank upstairs. So had a hair algae problem with this, wasn't doing enough water changes because of all the fry, and didn't have good enough water flow. So that's the reason that guy went bad. This tank has zero algae, good water flow. I don't use CO2, good balance of fast growing and slow growing plants, fast growing plants, slow growing plants. I don't dose it other than on water change day, and I do a 50% water change, and I don't overfeed the tank. So all those things go into play. In my opinion, the biggest problem with people with algae ridden tanks, especially hair algae, your water flow sucks. If you have garbage water flow, you're going to have algae in your tank, especially if you're dosing the crap out of the tank trying to get the plants growing. So this is what I do. Water changes, good water flow, have your lights on a timer, have a good mix of plants. Heavier planted tanks are a lot less likely to get plants because they're out competing the same nutrients that algae's trying to get, guys. And keep up on your maintenance. Maintenance is big. Like I said, I don't have CO2 on this tank. I haven't had CO2 on this tank in months. It's just got a good balance, guys. Just don't put extra chemicals in your tank that you don't need to. There's no point to it, guys. You got hair algae that bad. First, adjust the problem in the tank. Second, I wouldn't put peroxide on anything that would go back into my fish tank. It would go in the garbage if it was that bad. So, anyways, guys, 75's bumping. Did lose a Bosemani male. He jumped out of the tank. Sucked. 3-year-old fish. Beef jerkied on the floor. Other than that, everything's rolling in this tank. Bumblebees are breeding in there. Selective male guppies. One strand of a turquoise guppy that I really like is breeding in this tank. There's 50 fry. Cherry shrimp and blue crystals down there. And the guys on Instagram saw the tank that these select males are going into. I'm slowly putting that tank together. It's about 2 weeks old, so J Flesh Tanks on Instagram. If you haven't, go ahead and give me a follow. You can kind of see that tank a little bit before I make a video of it. Running long. Go to Fired Up Aquatics, guys. Plant your tank up. Get it heavily planted. J Flesh Tanks, Mr. Mom Tanks. Later, guys.